Hey, hello guys, welcome back. Welcoming myself back. It's been so long to another episode of Everyday EDC. My name is Tyler, and today we are reviewing, in my opinion, it's been a while, but in my opinion, probably the best knife for under $34 that I've ever felt in my life. This is the Ruike P801-SF. All right, guys. So the Ruike P801-SF. Trying to say it like I used to saying the name, right? I don't want to sit there and just. Anyways, I'm gonna kind of doctor my reviews. I've had some time to kind of sit back, relax, not really think about reviewing knives because I was, sick with the COVID. But we're all better now. Everything's fine, and I'm gonna doctor these reviews. I realized I was trying to cram too much into one review, so I'm going to not do the ratings from the 1 to 10. I'm not going to tell you if it's a forever knife or not. I will tell you if it is a forever knife. Like if I pick one up and I'm like, this is a forever knife for me, I will tell you that. But I'm not going to go through all that. You guys don't need to see me kind of drag this out for 20 minutes. The real skeleton of this whole review system is I'm going to go over each part individually, show you guys some specs, show you guys some size comparisons, and then we will just move on with a quick recap and my overall thoughts. So, without further ado, the Ruike P801-SF is the reason I say that this is probably my favorite budget knife for under 35 bucks is this thing is offering so much. First and foremost, this is on bearings. I didn't verify that for myself. I watched a couple reviews to find out. That was the only thing. I'm like, is this on bearings? I don't know. It feels really smooth. The action is pretty darn good and super satisfying. The sound that you get when you flick that open is awesome. No blade play up and down, left and right. Blade centering coming in perfect right there. And this flipper tab is fantastic. The thumb stud, not so much. You really have to kind of move your hands on where they go. This blade, stereotypical drop point, super narrow, full flat grind, that's coming in on a 14C28N blade steel for 30 bucks. This thing's going for 30 bucks on Blade HQ. What? 14C28, 30 bucks, bearings? Yeah, I mean, so far so good, right? Little bit of billboarding on the blade. Obviously, this blade is stonewashed, if you guys can't tell. And by the way, I changed my lighting. So I have a little light box now that I made from cardboard and stuff. I think it works better. If you guys like it, let me know. If not, that's fine too. Just give me feedback in the comments below. So the blade shape, full flat grind. I can't wait to measure it. I'm pretty excited. I think this thing is going to be pretty narrow behind the edge. These scales are coming in at like 3 CR 14 steel or something. It doesn't really matter. You're not cutting with the scales. They're just there. It's just a hardened steel. They are steel frame locks, and all the edges are knocked down really nicely. For 30 bucks, I would have expected a lot less. Even the blade, it's not sharp like some of the other blades on that spine. I digress. So, as I said, stainless steel frames, frame lock. We have a lanyard hole right here, which is just, they punched it through just so, hey, if you want a lanyard, cool. The real cool thing about this is check out this pocket clip. It is recessed, deep carry, your typical swoop with a bill, not a big deal, but it is so deep carry. Look, this thing's a beast. So damn deep carry. It is not ambidextrous, but I mean, I feel like they did everything right there. The relief cut for the frame lock, all knocked down, nothing sharp. Inside, I don't know if this new lighting you guys can kind of see the inside, but there's no weight relieving on the inside. It's just two steel frames. We do have some, I'm going to call them notches, kind of cut out into the steel frame lock bar. It's fine, and it actually adds the perfect amount of grippiness when you go to disengage. And again, that action, I can't get over that action. It's extremely smooth. I talk about the Koenig Arius, now having felt that versus, say, a Tucson, feeling that gritty feeling. Not comparing this to an Arius. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying the feeling of non-friction in this is felt. You don't feel the grittiness or the half-ass kind of tolerances that you would feel out of a Tucson. Now, Tucsons also bring other things to the table, but, you know, that's where we're going with that. So let's get into, let's get into some specs. First, let's check the weight on this guy. And this is one thing that I don't know that you guys are going to be able to see at all, because, wow, the lighting even makes that better. That's freaking awesome. All right. So the weight's coming in at 4.25 ounces, obviously being a relatively large knife, not large in many facets, but long. Being a relatively long knife, plus the stainless steel frames, yeah, it's going to be a little bit heavier. Speaking of length, let's go here. So from tip to end of the scale, this knife's coming in right just shy, maybe 7 9/10 or 7.9 inches. The blade length is coming in at just shy of 3 1/2, and the cutting edge is probably about 3 1/3. You're getting a lot of blade here. It's almost a perfect ratio, blade handle to length. This is where I'm excited. Let's check this here. Make sure you guys can see that. Yep. So the blade stock thickness, let me make sure I'm checking that right. Coming in at 120 thousandths. Pretty good. Full flat grind. Bringing that guy down to a whopping almost 15 thousandths behind the edge. Now, obviously, as you get closer to the tip, it's not going to be as much because they don't come down as much, which is cool because it adds a little bit of strength to that tip. But yeah, 15 thousandths behind that edge. Absolutely insane. This is another place where it wins. This thing's coming in at 360 thousandths thick, or basically 1/3 of an inch thick. Most knives are coming in at 1/2 inch, maybe a little bit under if they're not really contoured, and this thing's coming way under that. And then the overall height in your pocket's coming in at 1.1 inches. To put that into perspective, your PM3 is coming in at a 1.66, your PM2 is coming in at a 1.60, and your Manix 2 is coming in at a 1.74. Speaking of Spyderco's. So the reason that I say that is for size reference in your pocket, right? But here's a good size reference against all of these. As you can see, it's a little bit longer than your PM3, and it's a tiny bit shorter than your Shaman. For those of you new to my channel, I do a lot of comparison knives. The reason I do so many comparison knives is because I want to save you guys the time of trying to compare something that you haven't seen before. Why would I provide you with a comparison knife and you'd be like, well, that doesn't help me. I've never held that. So I try to give you a bunch of options that are pretty common. So here's your small feldspar and your large feldspar. As you can see, much larger than your small feldspar, and actually just about the same size as your regular size feldspar or your large feldspar. I keep calling it large and regular size, interchangeable. There's a small and then there's a large / regular size. Here is your Civivi Brigand and your Civivi Daurus. As we can see here, much longer than your Daurus, about the same size as your Civivi Brigand. And last but not least, we have your Rat Model 1. Probably one of the largest, longest knives that I have to compare to, short of the Shaman. And your Rat Model 2. Probably about a 1/2 inch longer than your Rat Model 2, and maybe about 1/2 inch shorter than your Rat Model 1. So as a quick recap, this blade steel is a drop point stonewash finish blade steel of 14C28N. A lot of billboarding going on here. This knife is made in China, I believe. China. We do have a sharpening choil right there. That's done pretty well. The sharpened edge comes almost all the way down right to the start of that sharpening choil. We have a thumb ramp with some jimping that is very functional in hand. It fits in almost the perfect spot. A flipper tab, which works fantastic. Thumb studs that are just okay. We have stainless steel frames with a frame lock that I have no problems with. I think, short of it being slippery, which I'll kind of get into a little bit into my likes and dislikes. A very nice deep carry pocket clip, which, as I said, is recessed into the stainless steel. So that thing's not going anywhere. For 30 bucks, they recessed this clip. They didn't recess the screws, but at least they recessed the clip. We have a lanyard hole here. All the edges are pretty nicely knocked down, and on the lock bar we have this slight little cutouts. I didn't mention before, it does run on a stop pin and bearings. To give you guys a reference, I'm just eyeballing this. I believe this is T8, and these are going to be T6. Same thing with the pocket clip screws. Those are going to be T6. That looks like a T8. So what are my likes and my dislikes? My likes. The value. $30. What? The value of this guy is fantastic. I love the fact that the action on this, that was a really bad segue. I'm kind of trying to read my notes and keep going. I love the sound and the action for 30 bucks. And this knife's relatively old. I think this thing came out like 2 or 3 years ago. So, yeah, you did it right there. Another like or love is I love this pocket clip. I love how they recessed it, and I love how deep carry it is. There's nothing that's going to be sticking out of your pants on this freaking knife when it's there. I love, speaking of sticking out of your pants, this thing, despite being 4 1/4 ounces in weight, this thing is going to be super narrow in your pants, and it's not going to take up a lot of real estate. Plus, in and out, because how slippery these scales are, which goes into a dislike, but in and out, this thing's a dream. It'll go in and out, but this lock bar, or I'm sorry, the frame lock, the pocket clip works fantastic. So you don't have to worry about it falling out, but it's very easy in and out, and it's not going to destroy your pants or really give you any issues whenever you need to use it. And last but not least for the likes, I really do actually like the ergonomics on this. Short of it being very, very narrow in hand, and by narrow I mean this way in height, or width rather, it doesn't really fill the hand that well, but your hand falls into place everywhere where it's supposed to. The jimping right here is perfect. Your thumb lands right there and you're just going to go. I don't feel like this is an issue anywhere else unless your hands are slippery. This leads into a dislike. These are so smooth that you can definitely feel it just slipping in your hand if the situation arises. So if you're going to use, as Nick would say, the Vaseline factory knife, or it's not one of those. But I don't really worry about this going anywhere in normal use. Granted, it's probably on a slippery scale, almost a 10. I mean, it is pretty slippery. But due to the way that they cut out and your hand fits into it really nicely, plus the jimping up top, I don't think it's so much of an issue. And my other dislike, and this is really just nitpicking, is this thumb stud right here. I really have to position my hand in a particular way so that I don't rest on this frame lock, and they're just kind of awkward. The thumb studs are done pretty nice. They don't really chew up your hands or anything that bad, but the fact that this has a flipper on it, oh yeah, that's pretty nice. So, last but not least, I want to end with one of its kin. This is the P801-SF. Again, in the same family, you can tell they're cut from the same cloth, and they have a lot of the same things going for them. But where the P801-SF really beats this knife out on is, look at the pocket clips. Yeah, that takes over. It's got this stupid little locking mechanism. That's whatever. The blade steels are fine. Ergonomically, this is okay. It's actually not as, it's about the same as that, realistically. But the flipper tab on this guy, the flipper tab makes this thing so accessible and so nice to use that this one, I really have to get in there and go. And you could tell a significant difference between the two. Now, if they were to make an 801 in the sheep's foot model, ooh, that would be so good. But for 30 bucks, guys, 30 bucks. That's all this is. I am going to tell absolutely everybody that this is the knife that you want to go for 30 bucks. Now, we do have the Rat Model 1 and the Rat Model 2 and the AUS 8, blah, 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 which I'm going to give them that option. But for something that you can get almost a full, it's almost the same cutting edge as the Rat Model 1, but much more narrow and easier to carry. The Rat Model 1's more of a hard use, in my opinion, just based on how it's built, the ergonomics, and how it doesn't slip out of your hand. This is kind of like, if you don't have a bunch of hard use stuff, but you just need a knife maybe once or twice a day, I would recommend this over the rat models. It's a very huge praise. Kind of coming out swinging since I haven't reviewed things in a while, but that's the reality of this guy. Once I got this guy in hand and I really started feeling it, and then I saw the price point, I go, oh my lord, this thing is nice. This is the Ruike P801-SF. My name is Tyler. This has been Everyday EDC. You guys stay sharp, stay safe. Thank you guys so much for watching. I apologize that the videos haven't been coming out, but I promise I'm going to start hitting it hard again. And have a great day. Thank you guys so much for watching. I genuinely appreciate it. Subscribe, like. I have a Patreon. If you're interested, check that out. In the Patreon, we're giving bi-monthly giveaways based on the number of patrons, and I also give great discounts on the knives that I review. So thank you guys again so much for being a part of this channel and the best part of this community. Have a great day, guys.